knowing and seeing are very important things in the Buddhist text. If you have ever heard these two Pali terms, which you will be studying in a different sutta after Dhammacakkapavatthana Sutta, you will understand how important it is. Janatova passatova. Janatova passatova. If I write it here. Janato passato. If I make it a little bit bigger. Now, Janato means knowing, and passato means seeing. So it is the same concept here. That means seeing the noble truths. You can go to Mahamangala Sutta. You can see it somewhere here. Now here it has been differently translated, the perception of the noble truths and the realization of Nibbana. So basically it means ariyasaccaṁ dassana. Dassana is another term for passato. That means knowing the noble truths is not enough. That means in order for us to get to that level of what you call capacity, we should be able to see them in our life. Normally, we are not able to see them in our life unless we are going to incorporate the Four Noble Truths into our daily activities, into our life. Right? There's a word called ariya here. What does ariya mean? You can talk to me. I can hear probably. I know you can talk. What is ariya? Ariya means noble. Where does ariya come from? The Pali word ariya. Ariya, the word ariya comes from a very interesting point. You know that in India, it is said that some new civilized people from another, I would say, this is called northwestern India, came from, especially they are supposed to come from Persia, the modern Iraq and Iran. They are called as Aryans. So they were spreading across the main cities. So the word Arya, although you take it as noble, the origin of the word Arya comes from these Aryans who came from Persia to India. So they normally call Aryans are the superior, the best. So the use of the word called Arya comes from that noble perspective. So here, as you can see, so the word Arya comes from that noble. Initially, it was, recognized as the name which was given to the people who came from Persia to India. But Arya later on was used as being noble. So today we are going to discuss, we are going back to the Sutta again. So from 25th to 33. I think I would ask you to go to the Sutta, Dhammacakkapavatthana Sutta's text. I think you all have it, right? So here we can see, Idang Kopana Bhikkhave Dukkhaṁ ariyasaccaṁ, 25th. Jatipi dukkha, jarapi dukkha, vyadipi dukkho, maranampi dukkhaṁ, appiyehi sampayogo dukkho, piyehi vippayogo dukkho, yam piccang na labati tampi dukkhaṁ, sankittena panchupadana kanda dukkha. Now these are the contents for the First Noble Truth. So we're going to be learning what the First Noble Truth is about with these contexts. Now in the note, what I have given to you is a comparison. You can see here, I have given the Dhammacakkapavatthana Sutta's text again here. At the same time, I have compared it to the Satchavibhanga Sutta, because Satchavibhanga Sutta is the elaborated description of the Dhammacakkapavatthana Sutta's description. We may go there also. So that is what we need to understand about the noble. Then we have to understand dukkha, the word dukkha. What does dukkha mean? Because dukkha is the word that is appearing everywhere here. Here you can see that in the text, especially in other suttas, that dukkha has been given in many other formats. Now, there's an issue about the word called dukkha. The issue is that it has been translated in different ways. Now, the most famous translation for dukkha is suffering. Would you agree with that? Would you agree that dukkha can be better translated by the word called suffering? It cannot be. So the word dukkha has to be translated depending on the context. Right? Otherwise, we don't know. It is like many other Pali words. Now, if you look at sankhara, if you look at karma, if you look at, I would say, nibbana. So there are certain contexts that we have to understand before we translate. Now, dukkha primarily means an uneasiness, or I would say dissatisfaction, or unsatisfactoriness. Basically, it starts from there. Now, we will understand this issue while we are discussing about these aspects of the dukkha. So we translate dukkha to be unsatisfactoriness, although it is not the best choice, but we translate at this point dukkha to be unsatisfactoriness. Why do we do so? This could be the primary level of dukkha. Now, when a being is reborn in a place like hell, maybe in animal kingdom, as an animal, that particular being may suffer. That is also dukkha. But we cannot translate dukkha only by taking that high pain of that being who is going through that pain at that point. So we normally translate dukkha to be unsatisfactoriness, or I would say dissatisfaction. That is very important to think about here before we jump into the rest. Now, the basic word dukkha has been explained by Dukkhaṁ Sutta, Samyutta Nikaya 45.165, as being three. Dukkha dukkhata, sankhara dukkhata, viparinama dukkhata. Dukkha dukkhata means the actual feeling of physical, mental pain. Right? The actual feeling. So I would say basically the pain, physical, mental pain. Sankhara dukkhata means the unsatisfactoriness or dissatisfaction produced by all conditioned phenomena. Sankharas. That dukkha comes from sankharas, because we like sankharas. We don't like sankhara to go away from us. Third one is viparinama dukkhata. That means dissatisfaction with the changes. Like when things change, we don't like. Right? Now, once again, dukkha dukkhata, sankhara dukkhata, viparinama dukkhata. Dukkha dukkhata means the pain, whatever the pain you are going through based on anything in your life. That is called as dukkha dukkhata. Then sankhara dukkhata means whatever the pain you are going through because of the changes of the sankharas, because things are made out of sankhara. What is sankhara, Dhamma folks? Sankhara, Somebody should ask the first question here, online format. What is Sankhara? Sankhara. S-A-N-K-H. Long A-R. Sankhara?
Mental formation.
Mental formation. But this Sankhara is not that mental formation. Interesting. That is a different context. What is that context? Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankhara. That Sankhara is what you call that Sankhara is what you call mental formations, part of the five aggregates. But this Sankhara is not the Sankhara in the five aggregates. Where is this Sankhara used? This is a very interesting, different context. What is this context? Sankhara and Asankhara. Sankhara and Asankhara. Let me Sankhara and Sankhara. This is a different context. Sankhara means here this means condition, right? This means unconditioned. I would say condition and unconditioned, right? Now, what is condition mean? That we all are? How do we understand this point? Sankhara, Asankhara. This is another context. How do we understand this? Now, when the Buddha was going to pass away, he addressed the monks and nuns and the people. What he said? What was his last word? What was his last statement to the community? His last sentence, last advice to everybody was, Vaya Dhamma Sankhara Appamadena Sampadena. That means all conditioned phenomena are subject to change. Therefore, strive on with diligence, appamadi. That means sankhara means anything that is made out of something else. Are we sankharas? How are we sankharas? How have we become sankharas? I am made of my parents, and you are made up from your parents. This whole made up of something else. They are not unconditioned. So in this whole universe, everything is sankhara. Then what is the unconditioned? What is the asankhara? Now, if everything is sankhara, if everything is conditioned, A creates B, B creates C, C creates D, so all are conditioned together, right? So then, is there anything that is called asankhara? Yes. What is asankhara? Asankhara means, oh really? No idea about it? This is what we are trying for. Nibbana, attaining Nibbana. Nibbana is the asankhara. Nibbana is the asankhara. Now sankhara, now I told you that sankhara in the five aggregates is a different context, which means mental formations, karma. But sankhara in the conditioned, unconditioned context is a different other context. So there are many other contexts of sankhara. So here, which means sankhara, sankhara means conditioned things, that means all that is made of something else. And unconditioned means nibbana. Now here, what does it mean by sankhara dukkha? See, sankhara dukkhata. What is it? Now, say for instance, you can see here, dukkha dukkhata is very clear to all of us. because dukkha dukkata simply means that any pain that we are going through because of mental, physical things, and sankhara dukkata means any pain that we are going through because of the nature of the conditioned phenomena. What are the pains that we may go through because of the conditioned phenomena? Now, say for instance that we were made by others, and things were made by others. They all are conditioned. Because of that, there are certain stages in those processes, maybe at the point of the end, at the point of the death, right? We are all going to struggle. That is called sankhara dukkata. Then viparinama dukkata. It is the nature of the both of the previous. Now, when things change, it is mostly a pain to many people. That is why when even you see that a happy change, let's say you are getting promoted, your children getting, I would say, good scores in their classes, then let's say you are getting lots of gains and you are not losing. There are also changes, right? But sometimes you feel you come up with happy tears too, right? People are crying for happiness too, right? Now you may see that people may go through very hard times just because they are having some bad things. They may be shedding tears, but on a different level, when they are so happy also, they are going to cry. Happy tears. But here viparinama dukkha means the kind of the pain people go through when things change. Because not many people can understand, go through the changes, good or bad changes. But unfortunately, a lot of people only take changes from the negative side. In Buddhism, we take changes from all aspects, good, bad, or whatever the perspectives. So now, what you need to understand is that the word dukkha carries three different perspectives: dukkha dukkata, sankhara dukkata, viparinama dukkata. Pay more attention to these three, I might ask you somewhere in the discussion. All right, so then here you can see it is for the full comprehension, clear understanding, ending and abandonment of these three forms of unsatisfactoriness that the Noble Eightfold Path is to be cultivated. Noble Eightfold Path has to be cultivated to understand these three. But these three are very subtle. Why? Why they are very subtle? Because they are embedded in the Four Noble Truths, especially in the first three Noble Truths. So that's what we are going to investigate. All right. Now let's go back again to the text. Number 1. Jatipi dukkha. Jatipi dukkha. Let me ask you, what is jati? Jati? Jati means birth. Birth. Jati means birth. Now some translate this to be rebirth, but jati means normally birth. It is said that birth, or I would say again, going to be reborn, rebirth, is dissatisfying or unsatisfactory. Is it so? Is jati dissatisfying to all of us? Tell me the truth. Depends on the place where we are going to be reborn. Can we make sure that we are going to be reborn in this particular place? Can we make sure? We cannot make sure. Even the very famous, very generous people also sometimes were reborn in bad places, even for a short time. One very good example is, can you give me an example for a very, very generous person who was reborn in a hell after the death? Malika. Right? Malika. What happened to Malika? Malika was the person who gave the greatest dana to the Buddha. That means only one person can give that greatest dana to one Samma Sambuddha. She did that. But because of something she had done, what happened was that just before she passed away, this came to her mind. And she was really self-hating about that particular event. And then she passed away and she was reborn in a hell for some time. That is why whatever you do in your life doesn't cost for the last moment sometimes. We believe that the habitual good karma can take you to a good place, but we don't know. The mind is very dynamic. It is changing all the time. That is why it is said, don't make mistakes. If you make a mistake, there's no choice sometimes. We try to make up our mind. There are so many incidents, also events we see that people went through, overcame their tiny, small things. But some people cannot. Especially the moment of the death is a moment where you won't be able to be mentally strong enough. Because you are physically, mentally weak by that point. Right? So the thing is that, going back to our topic, is that rebirth, I would say birth, is dissatisfying according to Buddha. But you would see that it depends on the place. Let's say there is somebody who is going to die and to be reborn in another good human life. Is that person's life is dissatisfying? Dukkha? Is it? Is that person's life going to be dukkha? If that person is going to be reborn in a very good, noble, good family with all the good comforts? Not necessarily. But there is one sutta called Bala Pandita. What is it called? Bala Pandita. You have time, you can read this. It's called Bala Pandita. I'm only going to show you the suttas. This one. Bala Pandita Sutta. Right? This one. Majjhima Nikaya 129. In this sutta, we find a very interesting remark. It says that if you are an animal, if you are a person who was reborn in a place of hells, then the chances for you to be reborn in a human life is very rare. Right? It is just as one-eyed blind turtle is going to see outside of the ocean through the yoke that has come to the ocean in whatever the ways every 100 years. It's a very rare chance. But in our understanding, if you are a human and if you take care of other humans, if you do your human responsibilities to other people, there's a greater chance of you being able to be reborn as a human again. Now, I'm not trying to encourage you to think about that birth is not dissatisfying. I'm telling you, we have to look at the both sides. But the Buddha is taking this part called Jatipi Dukkha in a sense that generally speaking, Jati is a dissatisfying thing, because let's say you become a human again and then you die, you never know what's going to happen to you after that, right? Let's say you become a very rich person And then you will do a lot of evil stuff sometimes. And then you are not conscious about the Dhamma at that point. And you are going back to the samsara again. Right? But, there are certain things, certain very dangerous zones at that point. That is why the Buddha simply says that birth is dissatisfying. It could be a dissatisfaction to many folks, but there may be good people who might be managing their life very well, who might be very good people in this life, next life, other life. They might be continuing. Although we cannot recommend that kind of a living all the way long, but there may be such people too. Jati was given as dissatisfying because of a general way of looking at it, but there may be different ways of looking at it too. But generally, in terms of the sansaric life, jati could be an issue. That's why the Buddha says that it is a dukkha. Second is, as you can see here, is jara. Now, jara means, I would say, aging. Is aging a dissatisfaction too? Now, in our understanding that we would like to age graciously, not age premature, right? Some people go through some premature aging, right? It is because of some stressful events. It is because of sometimes there are genetic issues. But the Buddha says that aging could be a dissatisfying, unsatisfactory process to many people. Especially when you find out the first white hair, the first broken tooth, and the first wrinkle, right? Ever since that day, you will have certain different responses to the body. We are not able to mostly accept these changes in our life. So it is kind of a dissatisfying moment. But there are people who understand their body, who understand what's happening to them. But the Buddha says generally, aging is a dissatisfying, unsatisfactory thing to many people. Jati, jara, then we come down to vyadi. Vyadi. What does vyadi means? Vyadi means sickness. So now this is something very interesting. I think a lot of people, they undoubtedly, without a second chance, they say that sickness is definitely a pain, especially mental sickness too, mental and physical. So the Buddha says that even he himself could not overcome some of the sicknesses. It is said that he went through some of the very chronic diseases just before he passed away. Some people say it's cholera, some people say it's dysentery. He had a migraine, he had a back pain, right? So there are different things that we know about the Buddha's life when he was sick. And there were arahants who got sick. If you go to Bojjhanga Suttas, you see how arahants got sick, right? The Buddha went to Arahant Mahakassapa, Arahant Mahamoggallana, Kacchite Kassapa Kamaniyam, Kacchiyapaniyam, Kacchi Dukkha Vedana. Can you tolerate? Can you manage? What did the Arahants tell the Buddha? Arahant Mahakassapa and Arahant Moggallana, Bhante, we cannot tolerate. We cannot manage the pain. That means Arahants also feel a great amount of pain when they are going through sicknesses. So definitely sickness. When it comes to us, normal people, if you can see in today's world, when somebody is going through a chronic issue, maybe a cancer, maybe other issue, how much pain that person is going through. We are trying to teach people to understand what's going on at the same time, going by the medical treatments. Definitely, it is a dissatisfaction, dukkha. And then marana. Maranampi dukkha. Now, this is interesting. How do we understand marana? Has anybody studied about Marana, death, in the Buddhist perspective? Now, the Buddha is not concerned about the death. You see, he is mostly concerned about killing. We should not kill any being. We are not supposed to kill any being. But death is inevitable to all of us. So, how do we understand death in the Buddhist perspective? I think we already discussed about it. I shared with you about 2 types of deaths in my Noble Eightfold Path sessions. Could you remember what they are? Kanika Marana and Sammuti Marana. What's the first one? Kanika Marana. If you cannot remember, probably write down here. What is Kanika Marana? Kanika Marana is momentary death. Are we dying every moment? Yeah, every moment we are dying. Our cells are dying. That is how we becoming age. Right? We call it, Buddha calls it momentary death. Kanika Marana. So that is happening all the time. But we don't see it. We don't look at it in that proper way. You can see it here. Kanika Marana. Kanika means moment. Momentary death. It's Kanika Marana. Then we have the famous, what you call the popular way of looking at the death. We call it Sammuti Marana. Sammuti Marana means this conventional death. The death that we all going to, what you call, experience some point of our life. But we are experiencing the both. So here when you say Marana, it is the both. So Marana is dissatisfying. But do we take Kanika Marana to be dissatisfying? We don't see it that much. But when you take it from the Jara point of view, aging point of view, you might say, yes, I can feel now I am a little older. I have become old. I know that when I look back the time, how I did my things, I cannot do the same amount of things now compared to my 20 years back time. Right? So you would see that Kanika Marana has come down to you in the form of aging, Jara. But anyways, when you say Marana, Marana has both perspectives, Kanika Marana and Sammuti Marana. The Buddha says this is dissatisfying. Right? And then Appiyehi Sampayogo Dukkho. This one. This is interesting. Appiyehi means, who are Appiyehi? Who is Appiyehi here? People who you don't like. People who you don't like. So here, Appiyehi Sampayogo. Sampayogo means being with people who you don't like is dissatisfaction, or I would say dukkha. Is it dukkha? It is a dukkha, right? Appiyehi sampayogo dukkho. Sampayogo means being with the appiyehi. That means people who you don't like. Now, if there is somebody in the group of you, in any group that you are joining with, maybe outside, inside, in your family circles, work circles, You might not like that idea to be with the people who you don't like. It is a dissatisfaction. But the question here is that, can we always be with the people who we like? Is it easy? Now there are people, you are invited for a certain event and you're secretly checking out. Is that person also attending the event too? Why? Because you want to make sure, okay, I'm going to come there. Don't worry. Because you are so much worried about this appiyehi sampayogo dukkho. It's a dukkha to you. Dissatisfaction. Right? You're secretly checking out who is coming over there. Right? The Buddha said, this is really a dissatisfaction in our life. That's why we always try to connect to the people we like wherever we go, whatever we do, right? So that gives us lots of happiness, yes, because we like those people to be around. And finally, you can see here the opposite. Piyehi vippayogo dukkho. Piyehi means people who you like. Vippayogo means separation. So, separation from the loved ones, separation from the people who you like is a dissatisfaction. Now, this is, of course, very clear to all of us. When you are leaving from the loved ones, it is definitely a dissatisfying moment in your life. So, here, as you can see, that most of the aspects of the First Noble Truth is actually they going around our next life and this life. Jati, Jara, Vyadi, Marana, Appiyehi Sampayoga, and Piyehi Vippayoga. Now, the next two are very important. If I can show you. Yang piccang na labati tampi dukkhaṁ sankittena panchupadanakkhandha dukkha. Yang piccang na labati. Now you are expecting something, yang piccang, but na labati, you don't get it. You expect something, but you don't get it. Do you normally get everything you expect in your daily life or in your life? Not all the time. But sometimes, when you are not getting things that you don't expect, could go in a good way also. We never know, but we expect that, okay, I would better have it, but we don't get it. But we get it something different. Maybe we get something different. Maybe we get a different thing. But this different receiving of that particular thing that we expected can be a blessing to us, right? It could be a blessing to us. But in our life, we are expecting a lot of things, but we don't get what we really expected all the time. Sometimes we get it, but most often we don't get it. So it is a dissatisfaction. So how many people commit suicide? How many people take their life? How many people just harm other people? How many people mess up in their life? Because they cannot get over the feeling that they could not get what they want. It is definitely a dissatisfaction. Yang piccang na labati. Na labati means not getting what that person expected there. Finally, this is very interesting. Sankittena. Sankittena means in brief, in short. Panchupadanakkhandha dukkha. Now, this word you may know, khandha. What is khandha? What does khandha mean here? Khandha means 5 aggregates. Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Viññāna. Now, the problem is not with the 5 aggregates. The problem is when you bring upadana to five aggregates. So now the Buddha says, if anybody does not understand the First Noble Truth under these aspects, Jatipi Dukkha, Jarapi Dukkha, Vyadipi Dukkha, Maranampi Dukkha, then Api Sampayogo Dukkha, Pi Vipayogo Dukkha, Yampi Chang Lapati Tampi Dukkha, then I'm going to tell them a short way to understand the First Noble Truth. It is this one, 33. Sankirtana, in short, the clinging to the five aggregates is dukkha. That means whatever the things happening to you with jati, jara, vyadi, marana is all have to be understood by this phenomenon. That means all those aspects of the dukkha come from clinging to the five aggregates. That means you have a clinging to the five aggregates when you understand jati, jara, vyadi, marana, and all that. That means in each aspect of the dukkha, what you see is that you are creating, you are developing a clinging to your five aggregates. Can we do a sample example here? Now let's take the vyadi. Vyadi means sickness. How do we know the clinging to the five aggregates over there? How does vyadi becomes a dissatisfaction through the clinging to the five aggregates? Now, let's say that you have a mental pain, right? You have a pain in your mind. Maybe you have depression, you have stress, you have anxiety and all that. Maybe at that point, what's happening is that you are, if you look at it in a very simple or maybe in clear way, you will see that the reason of that depression, the reason of that anxiety, the reason of that stress, because there is an event where you have clung to those five aggregates, maybe to your rupa, maybe to your different feelings of that particular event, maybe to the perceptions of that something, maybe to the mental formations, maybe to your own consciousness. So that means next time when somebody asks you, please tell me the First Noble Truth in very short, how would you respond to that person? Now let's say someone might tell you, I don't understand this jatipi dukkha, jarapi dukkha and all that. What is the First Noble Truth? Tell me in plain English. How do you respond? You would answer that person, all these aspects of the dukkha can be simply given in a very short statement. What is that short statement? In a very short way, that means all these aspects of the dukkha means that in each dukkha, what is happening or what has happened is that there's a clinging that has been developed towards the five aggregates. That's it. That means all our dukkha come from a clinging to our own five aggregates. Be that jati, be that jara, be that vyadi, marana, whatever the things. Now let's take the appiyehi sampayogo dukkha. That means being with the people who you don't like. Do you see any clinging here? Where's the clinging here? Being with the people who you don't like. He said it is a dukkha. It has become a dukkha. Now let's take the clinging to the five aggregates phenomenon here. How do we relate it to? Where's the clinging? Clinging means you are overly attached to the people who you like. Then who you are hating the people who you don't like. Then in the two aspects of that liking and disliking, you have created some clinging towards your own five aggregates. Not even to your own five aggregates, but also to other people's five aggregates too. Right? In the same way, we have to understand the First Noble Truth this way. Any questions before we jump into some other points here? I just want to know whether you understood today, because I'm doing this online. I just want to know whether you clearly understand or not. Any questions about things we discussed so far? Now I have a question to you. Okay. The question is, how do we understand dukkha? What are the primary? There are three primary ways to understand dukkha. We discussed at the beginning. What are those three? Sankhara dukkhata? No. Dukkha dukkhata. Second, sankhara dukkhata. Third, viparinama dukkhata. Now this is very important in understanding the dukkha. So dukkha dukkhata means any pain that arises from your body and the mind. We call it dukkha dukkhata. And then sankhara dukkhata means, how did I explain to you about sankharas today? Now, first context is the sankhara in the five aggregates. I said it is not the sankhara here in the sankhara dukkhata. Now, sankhara is a different context here. Sankhara means conditioned phenomena. Condition and decondition asankhara. That means when we are dealing with the conditioned things, that means we are conditioned, other people are conditioned, our loved ones are conditioned, our real estate, everything is conditioned. When we are dealing with these things and people, we have to expect certain changes. Maybe more changes might be happening, right? So when these changes are happening, there is some kind of pain which people don't like accepting. We call it sankhara dukkhata. Third one is viparinama dukkhata. Viparinama dukkhata means pain, or I would say dissatisfaction that arises when things change, basically. Now, this has to take from the both sides, good changes and bad changes. All right, so until you come up with a question, I'm going to continue the rest. So from, I would say, what we did here was that, idam kopana bhikkhave dukkhaṁ ariyasaccaṁ. Now this, monks, is the noble truth of unsatisfactoriness. Jatipi dukkha, birth is dissatisfying. Jarapi dukkha, aging is dissatisfying. Vyadipi dukkho, illness is dissatisfying. Maranampi dukkhaṁ, death is dissatisfying. Appiyehi sampayogo dukkho. Sampayogo means being with. Appiyehi means people you don't like, is dissatisfying. Piyehi vipayogo dukkho, separation. Vipayogo means separation. Sampayogo could be translated as union, or being together also. Separation from piyehi means loved ones is satisfaction. Yang pi ichcham. Ichcham means warms. Yang means something that you wish something, but na labati, you don't get it. Tampi dukkhaṁ, it is also dissatisfying. I think this is the dissatisfaction of many people, because they're expecting a lot of things, but somehow they don't get it for whatever the reason, and they are not able to put it this way, that this is one of the dissatisfaction. Finally, sankirtena panchu padana kanda dukkha. In brief, it is none other than clinging to the five aggregates, or five aggregates subject to clinging is what you call by dissatisfaction. Let's go back again to our notes here. I wanted to discuss with you this interesting point, the broad description that we see in the Satcha Vibhanga Sutta about the first noble truth, Majjhima Nikaya 141. I have given the link here. Now, see how did the Arahant Sariputta explain the first Four Noble Truth to other monks? Now, when you see the explanation given by Arahant Sariputta, you will see that the Buddha only minimally explained the Four Noble Truths. Because Buddha simply wanted to explain the Four Noble Truths to the 5 ascetics. Now, when you look at the Satchavibhanga Sutta's explanation, because I want to connect these suttas to your understanding, so then you will not only understand the Dhammacakkapavatthana Sutta, but also the connected other suttas. So, it will give you a very good understanding. See that. We're going to be reading a couple of things. Kataman chausu dukkhaṁ ariyasaccaṁ jatipi dukkha jarapi dukkha maranampi dukkha. Here, soka parideva dukkha domanasupaya-sapi dukkha. Now, we don't see this in Dhammacakkapavatthana Sutta. Soka means what you call sorrow. Parideva means lamentation. These two words are interesting. Dukkha here again means, we call it physical pain. And domanassa means mental pain. Now, according to the Satchavibhanga Sutta, it is said that dukkha and domanassa are 2 types of dissatisfaction. Dukkha means physical pain. Domanassa means mental pain. Dukkha and domanassa. Dukkha and domanassa. Dukkha means physical pain, and domanassa means mental pain. Now, these are new additions to the sutta. Actually, the Dhammacakkapavatthana Sutta's explanation. So we have to understand them separately in order for us to have a good understanding. Then see how Arahant Sariputta explains jati. Katamachaosu jati. I'm not going to read the Pali a lot because to save the time, as you can see, and you can read later. And what is rebirth? The rebirth, inception, conception, rebirth, I would say, manifestation of the 5 aggregates, acquisition of the sense fields of the various sentient beings. And this is called rebirth. Now, when you look at it, what do you think about them, folks? Is it more elaborated than the Dhammacakkapavatthana Sutta or not? Satchavibhanga Sutta is very explained, more elaborated. That means you need to read Satchavibhanga Sutta also to have a full understanding about the Dhammacakkapavatthana Sutta. Next is Jara. What is Jara? Now, it's interesting here. What is old age or aging? The old age, decrepitude, broken teeth, gray hair, wrinkles, diminished vitality, and failing faculties of the various sentient beings. This is called Jara. This is called Jara. Now, in the Dhammacakkapavatthana Sutta, simply say Jara. Jarapi dukkha. Does it explain more? It doesn't explain anything more. So we have to come back to the Satchavibhanga Sutta to understand what Jara means, what Jati means, and all this. And then let's go to the Marana. What is death? The passing away, perishing, disintegration, demise, mortality, death, disease, breaking up of the 5 aggregates. Interesting. Laying to rest of the corpse, cutting off the life faculty of various sentient beings. This is called Marana. Interesting. Very well explained. And then Soka. Now, these are new terms. Soka, Parideva, Dukkha Domanassa, Upaya. So these are not mentioned in the Dhammacakkapavatthana Sutta. Now, why? What do you think about why did the Buddha not explain these words in the Dhammacakkapavatthana Sutta? The reason is, yes.
Buddha speak with the 5 friends.
Buddha only wanted to give his teachings to 5 ascetics. But now here, what is happening is that the Buddha asked Arahant Sariputta to initiate this talk, Satchavibhanga Sutta. Then he picked up Bhante Sariputta. The reason is that only Arahant Sariputta can clearly explain most of the Dhamma matters. Then Arahant Sariputta picked up the whole abstract of the Dhammacakkapavatthana Sutta in its entirety, and then he explained one by one, sometimes breaking the existing Dhamma matters into other certain subdivisions, so that people can understand better in a lucid way. That is why you see Soka, Parideva, Dukkha, Domanassa, Upayasa, which you don't see in the Dhammacakkapavatthana. Actually, it is good, because when you understand Soka means sorrow, grief, Parideva, lamentation. And Dukkha means physical pain. Now that Dukkha and main Dukkha is different. It's a different connotation. And Domanassa is mental pain. Upayasa, despair, disappointment. Those are, they are not Arahant Sariputta's innovations. They are Buddha's ones, but Buddha only wanted to teach the Dukkha, the Four Noble Truths in such a way because his audience was the five ascetics. But here this audience was mainstream Sangha by Arahant Sariputta. Let's go back. As you can see, lamentation, you can read whenever you are free. Dukkha, Domanassa, Upayasa. Here we have to explain. Yam pichang labitampi dukkhaṁ. And then you can see here. Now, what is yam pichang lalapati tampi dukkhaṁ? In sentient beings like us who are liable to be reborn, such a wish arises. Oh, if only we were not liable to be reborn. If only rebirth would not come to us. But you can't get that by wishing. This is not getting what you wish for is dissatisfaction in living beings who are liable to grow old. Actually, in our life, we all know that Jati, Jara, Vyadi, Marana, they are dangerous aspects of our sansaric life. But just because we don't like them, do we not get them in our future lives? No. If we don't practice whatever we are supposed to practice, they are still coming down to us. They are not going to not give us just because we don't like them. Right? So we have to properly practice what we are asked to practice, what we are supposed to practice. Now, finally, I want to bring up this thing before any questions. How many of you have read the Sutta Ariyasaccaṁ Sutta? I think the Ariyasaccaṁ Sutta is a sutta that I explained to you many times in our sessions. In the Ariyasaccaṁ Sutta, it is mentioned that there are two types of search. One is noble search. The other one is ignoble search. What is noble search and what is ignoble search? That is very interesting. So, noble search, ignoble search means if someone is if someone is struggling with jati, jara, vyadi, marana, but still looking for the jati, jara, vyadi, marana, that is called ignoble search. All right. Now you are born, you're still looking for another birth, and you are going through jara, aging, you're still looking for another aging life. And if you are going through sicknesses, you are still going for another life with health. And if you are struggling, if you are going through death one day, and you are looking for another life of death, that is called ignoble search, anariyapariyasam. Then if you are born and you know the issues with the birth, according to the Four Noble Truths explanation, you are not looking for another birth. It is called ariyapariyasam, noble search. And if you are already going through your aging, and you know that you don't need to have this happen again, and you are looking for what you call ageless life. That means Nibbana. And if you are going through sicknesses, you are looking for what you call the opposite of sicknesses. That means attaining Nibbana one day. And you are going through death one day, you don't want to die again. That means attaining Nibbana. That is called ariyasaccaṁ. Now, if you look at the First Noble Truth, you can see most of those aspects are connected to the First Noble Truth. So, if you not only know what they are, if you can see them in your daily life, then you are creating a blessing. You are creating a mangala. That is what we have to understand with that point, with the Four Noble Truths. First Noble Truth. All right. Any questions for today?
Is it like, for example, I have a pet dog. I have him for 12 years. He brought a lot of love and joy. So he suddenly passed on at the age of 12. Well, he has cancer and so on. I really kind of expected, but then it just happened so fast. I could not talk about him for the next 4 years without crying. I reflected and tried to think about the Dharma and the noble truth about that. Let's say the so much pain. Can I find out, was it because it was clinging to the aggregate of having the rupa, like having him and I don't have him. So there's a mixture of clinging to mixture of physical, having him, but he's not there, like away, being separated from pleasing, and then still being ignorant to attach to that understanding, which is actually not very wise, and then it brought more pain. Is that how I could use this example of reflecting on the First Noble Truth? Yeah, that's what I want to ask.
I think you gave the answers too. Yes, your question had answers too. I would say now definitely you can see the pets passing away, which happen all of a sudden, unfolds the First Noble Truth very easily to you personally, right? So that is the first thing I wanted to share. Second thing is that in Buddhist understanding, when something happens like that, the first thing to do is to accept, being able to accept that thing. Because without accepting, we are going to struggle a lot, right? Accepting is a part of, it's a big part of the Four Noble Truths, right? And as you said, yes, if you have any remaining, I would say, greed, attachment, or maybe the hatred about why it happened so quick. You know? So we have some self-hatred about why things happen so fast, so quick. Why it would have not taken some more years, maybe much longer time. Why it happened so fast? So we kind of having some dosa to the event, dosa to other people involved. So in that case, what we need to develop is that we have to clearly bring the Sankittena Panchapadana Khanda theory. That means that the dissatisfaction overall arises, be maintained and pervading all the time because we are clinging to the aggregates of other people or our own aggregates. That is why there is any dissatisfaction. If you totally understand what happened, and if you totally understand the viparinama dukkha, changes of everything, if you totally understand that the pet is also sankhara, pet is sankhara, made by somebody else. So then your dukkha will be diminish and reduce. It takes time. You can't just find the easy easy thing right away. It takes time, but as you said, yes, accepting, trying to understand how much clinging that was involved with the person, in this case the pet, and how you would think about the memories with the pet and all that. So all this is included with some kind of clinging to the particular person. So then if you understand this over time, you will understand by yourself. I always tell people, it takes time. It takes time to understand, but I think you have the proper, mindset to understand it. It's a good question, actually. Yes. That is what we said, ariyasaccaṁ dassana. You don't need to just know the noble truth. You have to see them in your life. Now, as this lady mentioned, yes, you have to see them in your real life, with your loved ones, with maybe your people who you don't like, right? So then, of course, you understand, yes, it really manifests, it really makes clear to me with my personal events in my life, my family events. Next Monday, what we are going to be doing is the second noble truth. So the second noble truth going to be starting from 34 up until 39. You have to talk about kama tanha, bhava tanha, vibhava tanha, and all that. So that's a very interesting area too. Okay, if you have no more questions, we're going to be wind this up by transferring good karmas to the departed ones and sharing good karmas with the Deva, Naga, Mahika.